So we start today with again independent assortment and linkage. And if you remember our previous class, we had discussed the difference between independent assortment, linkage, complete and incomplete. So this is a recapitulation of again going back through the three types. In figure A, if we concentrate ourselves in figure A. So all of you look into figure A. In figure A, we see the result of independent assortment of two pair of chromosomes, each containing one heterozygous gene pair. No linkage is exhibited. So this is one set of gene pair. This is the other set of gene pair. One set of gene pair, the other set of gene pair, right? So when there is meiotic segregation of gametes, what are the combinations we can get? We get a combination of capital A, capital B. Okay. Capital A, capital A, small b. So this is another combination. We get small a, capital B and small a, small. So as you can see, when the chromosomes are observed in large number of meiotic events, they are seen to form four genetically different gametes in equal proportion, each containing a different combination of alleles of the two genes. So we see the different combinations of the alleles of the two genes in concern. Now coming to the second case, linkage. If we look into this picture, just a second. If we look into this picture, here also we have the two genes A and B. But here as it's being said at the very beginning that the genes are linked. So as you can see, the gametes, you look into the gametes obtained from this one, as you can see, the gametes, each gamete receives the alleles present on one homologue or the other, which is transmitted intact as the result of segregation. So there is no recombination. So we get either a capital A, capital B combination or a small b combination. So as you can see, when we get a case of complete linkage, just a second, when we get a case of complete linkage, we get only two varieties of gametes. This is one variety and this is the other variety. So we obtain two varieties of gametes. This case in fact illustrates that in case of complete linkage, only parental or non-crossover gametes are produced, and they are produced in equal proportions. In this case, if just I bring about a comparison, in this case we had two crossover gametes. This was one crossover gamete. So we had this is a crossover gamete, and this was the other crossover gametes. The parents were not similar. They are not similar to the parents. So in this case, we produce two crossover gametes. Now coming to the third and the final case, where crossing over occurs. There is linkage, but crossing over is occurring between the two linked genes. Okay, and as you can see, this crossover involves only two non-sister chromatids of the four chromatids present in the tetrad. So if this is the tetrad, you can see the crossing over is occurring between only two chromatids in this case. And in this case also, we see recombination is occurring. We see that recombination is occurring, called recombinant or crossover gametes. The two chromatids not involved in the exchange result in non-crossover gametes. So these are non-crossover gametes. So we have a non-crossover gamete and we have a crossover gamete. So these are the crossover gametes. So these are the three defined cases which are usually observed when different crosses are done, and the relationship between the two genes concerned. So if they are independently assorted, we get four categories of gamete in equal proportions. If there is complete linkage, we get only the parental gametes. And if there is linkage between two genes on a single pair of homologue, just keep this in mind, two genes on a single pair of homologue. Linkage cannot exist between two genes on different homologues. This is one homologous chromosome, this is the other homologous chromosome. In this case, as you can see, linkage cannot exist between two genes on two different chromosomes. Now, this was a case where in same homologue, we are having two genes. In this case, it's observe the phenomena of linkage, and in this case we are seeing crossing over between two linked genes. So, as you can see, there is exchange occurring between the chromatids, and we are again getting 4 combination of gametes. So, this is in brief about linkage and independent assortment. Now, coming to some more critical analysis of the same point. As if you see these examples, these are 2 examples of a single crossover event between non-sister chromatids. And as a result, what are the combinations formed? Just a second. In the case of A, if we look into the first case, the extent does not order the linkage arrangement. Alter the linkage arrangement. So, A and B, as you can see, A and B are 2 linked genes and they're placed very closely to each other. The 2 non-sister chromatids are aligned nearby each other and we are seeing a crossing over event. But in this case, the crossing over event does not change the position of the linked genes. So, as you can see, there has been a crossover event. But only the parental gametes are formed. In this case, we will not be able to identify whether there is a crossing over from this is a genotypic view or the genetic view of the crossing over event. So from phenotypic expression, it will be difficult to explain whether there is a crossover event in this case or not. As you can see, the crossover event has not involved the 2 linked genes. Now, if you look into the second case, the crossing over is occurring between genes and as you can see, we are getting 4 different kinds of gametes. So, when we obtain 4 different kinds of gametes of 4 different phenotypes, we have to assume that a crossing over has happened. If the 4 different phenotypes are observed in equal combinations, we have to assume that the genes are independently assorted. If the 4 different combinations are not observed in equal proportions, we have higher amount of the parentals as compared to the recombinants, then we have to assume that no, somewhere the genes are linked. So again, we want to do the same concept. As you can see, this particular crossover event is giving us 4 categories of combinations. This is a non-crossover gamete, a crossover gamete, a crossover gamete, and a non-crossover gamete. So AA, this was a non-crossover gamete, this was a non-crossover gamete. Again, as you can see, this is a non-crossover gamete, and in between capital A, small b. So we are getting capital A, small b, a crossover gamete, and small a, capital B. We are getting a small a, capital B crossover gametes. So what is the take-home message from this picture? So I have just written in blocks. When the loci of 2 genes are far apart, this is very important. So when the 2 genes are far apart, the number of gamete approaches but does not exceed 50%. That is, we are seeing 1:1:1:1 ratio, and it is assumed that the gamete formation each tends to approach the 50% borderline. 50% borderlines means this is in a case of 4 gamete situation, this will be 25%, 25%, 25%, 25%. So if 50% recombination is seen, so if we observe a 50% recombinance, so these are the recombinants, these were the crossover gametes. So if we get 50% of crossover gametes and 50% of non-crossover gametes, then we have to assume that the result is 1:1:1:1, 2 parentals and 2 recombinants. In this case, in such a case of transmission, when like this happens, then the 2 linked genes becomes, just a second, the two linked genes is indistinguishable from that of two unlinked genes. And in this case also, the two linked genes, if they are linked, are showing the phenomena of independent assortment. So keep in mind, this is a very simple take home message. Keep in mind that if we are seeing 50% parentals and 50% recombinants, we have to assume that the genes are independently assorted. But if we see that the number of parentals has exceeded the number of recombinants, that is, if we get around 75% parentals and 25% non-recombinants, we have to assume that there is the phenomena of incomplete linkage. So 50 is to 50, parentals is to non-recombinants, independent assortment. Only parentals, complete linkage. Parental is to recombinants, parentals greater than 50%. That's a case of incomplete linkage. So this is how the thing is done. And this was the other day I had just briefed you about the experiment while talking. So I'll just go over it very quickly once more. So initially this was the experiment that was done by Morgan. Morgan did other experiments, but this is Morgan did another one experiment with white and miniature wings. I'll be talking about this particular case in which we are having long gray wings. So this is the gray body, long wings. VG is for vestigial wings, B is for black body. If you remember, I had said that the mutants flies, any gene is known by its mutation, okay? And so VG is vestigial wings. So as you can see, the wings are small, and B is black body. So these are the mutant forms. And this is one cross, and the other is the test cross, as you can see, or let's say homozygous recessive condition, VGB. So this is the condition. And you can see the genes are in coupling. If you remember, I had also said that if you get the wild type on one homolog and the recessives on the other homolog, then the genes are in coupling. Now, when this kind of experiment was done, we in the F1 generation, what we get, if we look into the gamete segregation, one gamete and one gamete from here. Okay, so this was the heterozygous fly. The heterozygous fly was now crossed with again a homozygous recessive fly, and as you can see, 4 flies were obtained. If you look into this fly, the first fly 1, sorry, this is fly 1, this is similar to its parents, Now if we look into this fly, the second fly in the picture, if we look into the first fly, similar to its parents. If we look into the second fly, as you can see, similar to its parents. Okay, so these are the parentals. And when they counted the number of flies, it was 820. Now comes to the recombinants. Vestigial wings, gray body. None of the parents are like this. Long wings, black body. None of the parents are like this. When they counted the recombinant fly, it was observed to be 180. So as you can see, so the frequency, I'll come to that later on. So as you can see, among 1000 individuals, the number of parentals is greater than 50% or greater than 500. So independent assortment is not occurring. We did not get only parentals. So complete linkage is not occurring. What did we get? We got all the 4 phenotypes, of which the parental combination exceeded 500, that is 820, and the recombinants were 180. So this exhibits a clear case of incomplete recombination, and from this data This is how we calculate the frequency of recombination. So 180 recombinants obtained among 1000 fly. So the percentage of So the percentage of recombination is 0.18. Okay. So now coming to the initial, just a second, moving on to the previous slide where we got how to see, we realized how to get the recombination frequency. So we get the recombination frequency by, just a second. Yeah. So we get the recombination frequency. What's happening? What's becoming wrong with this slide? We get the recombination frequency. Oh, let me get it stable. So we get the recombination frequency by calculating the number of recombinants we got on the total number of flies, which for this experiment is 0.18. And now we move on to the famous experiments which actually proved that indeed genes on the same chromosome may be inherited together. So these are known as synthetic genes, and there might be a linkage, and they belong to the same linkage group. Now there are three scientists who provided evidences that indeed chromosomal exchange is occurring during the process of recombination. The first experiment that was done was in 1911 by Morgan himself. However, Morgan couldn't directly give us the experimental evidence that yes, genetic exchange is occurring. What he provided a circumstantial evidence. Circumstantial evidence is he hinted to the fact that indeed chromosomal exchange is occurring between two genes in meiosis, resulting in a recombinant gamete. So now let's move on to the Morgan's cross. Now, if this was a cross that was done during the time of Morgan in 1911, and now let's look into the two parents. So this is the first parent and this is the second parent. Let's look at the characters of the two parents. This is a recessive female fly. You can see the eye color is white, and the wings you can see the wing is small, miniature. This, the eye color is red, as you can see, and you can see the wing length is normal. So we are having from this fly, this was the female fly and this was the male fly. And when we did our previous classes, I had said that we usually name a gene by the mutation it shows. So W means white mutant of the original W plus allele, which is the normal eye color, and miniature means miniature wings with respect to the normal wild type wings. Now, when we have these two different this fly, we have two different gametes. We have two different gametes, W, M, and again a W, M. Okay, these are the two gametes we are getting. And from this fly, what are the two gametes we will be getting? We will be getting a W. This is the wild type uh, W plus, M plus, and this is the Y chromosome. So now if these gametes are crossed, what will he get? We'll get a female. W, this is one X and this is the other X. So this is the female phenotype. So we get the female. You see, we get the wild type female because it is inheriting the wild type X chromosome from the father. And when you look to the other fly, we have WM and there is a Y chromosome. So, so this will be the male, WM with the Y chromosome gives us the male. Okay. So now we have a wild type female and a white eye miniature wings male. So that is done. So that was the F1 genotypes. Now they were interbred. Just remember the phenotype of this female is W plus M plus by W M, and this one will be W M and Y. Okay. Now they are interbred. When this category of situation is interbred, see, the male can produce only two combinations. It does not have any other choice. It will either give WM or it will give a Y chromosome. Now let's look into what different categories we can obtain from this combination. See, the genes are in coupling, as I said. So we are getting our W. So here we, sorry, pointer options pen. Here we will be getting a W. See, first one, parentals. Let me write the parentals first. W plus M plus. The second is the other parental. So these are the different gametes we will be getting. W, M. So gamete 1, gamete 2. Now come the recombinants. So what will be getting? W plus M. Third gamete. And finally what will be getting? W, M plus. So from the female during meiosis we are getting 4 different kinds of gametes, and if there is no complete linkage between W and M, then we will assume that they are independently assorted and all the 4 genotypes will be in equal proportions. This was the hypothesis that Morgan had in mind. You should remember, when you're thinking of an experiment, you have to provide a hypothesis. So when he did such a cross and this female was a heterozygous one, he knew that there will be 4 gametes and I will get 4 different flies, 2 parentals and 2 recombinants category. So that was his assumption. So they will be independently assorted. The percentage of parentals is 50% and the percentage of recombinants is 50%. Now, when in fact he did the experiment, as you can see, so he divided it into male and female. So he observed 359 white eyes miniature wings. It is representing one of the parents, as you can see. So this is one of the parents, similar to one of the parents. So one parental. He counted that 750 parentals of this type. Again, he saw that he got wild type. That is, wild type was the W plus M plus flies. You can see. So he got this category of flies also. Okay. So these are also parents. So these category of flies belonged to the parents. He in fact had calculated 2,441 flies, of which he observed that 1,541 flies belonged to the parental categories. They showed the parental phenotypic expression, but 900 showed something different. That means there was recombination and the ratio was not similar. The amount of parents was greater than the amount of recombinants, and he found that the percent recombination was 36.9. I said that when the recombination percent tends to become 50%, we have to assume that independent assortment has set in. But here he saw that the recombination percent was 36.9%, which evidently proved the fact that there was recombination, no doubt of it. But the progenies were not segregated as per the laws of independent assortment. There was some kind of linkage in between the two genes concerned. And this was the first physical evidence. This was not a physical evidence. His experiments gave us a circumstantial evidence that indeed some kind of exchange is occurring between chromosomes, resulting in genetic recombination. So I'll stop my class here because right now there is less than